Hello everybody, welcome to Radio Mythoverse for March the 10th, 2021. It's a very special episode of Radio Mythoverse tonight. Got some background noise there, let me take care of that real quick. Okay, so like I said, it's a special episode of Radio Mythoverse tonight. At the beginning you heard 3 songs. The very first song you heard was the Triple Crown theme from our upcoming serial racing manga that was composed by Zal and Talus. After that you heard Beat of My Shitty Heart and Back from the Dead by the Suburban Swamp Kids. Those tracks are available on their Tropical Depression EP. They're a great ska punk band from South Florida. Check them out on Spotify or on their Bandcamp page over at https://swampkids.bandcamp.com/. I'll put a link to that page in the description below. Hey folks, I'm Dan, Editor-in-Chief of the Mythoverse, and I'm suppose you're wondering why I asked you here tonight, and that's a fair question. We haven't streamed in a while, and we usually stream on Saturdays, so what are we doing here? What is this? What's the point? What is the purpose of this stream? Well, like I said, it's a fair question. So I'm here tonight, and I hope everyone else is here with me as well for a celebration. It's a celebration of progress, celebration of creativity, celebration of achievement, while also acknowledging that all the challenges that we face and at times Sisyphean efforts to get things off the ground are a necessary part of the process. That's all part of it. Sometimes you need to fail to figure out how to do it right. Succeeding all the time doesn't really teach you much. A lot of times if you succeed too much, that just shields you from needing to learn how to deal with things when they go wrong. So embrace the failures, learn from them, become stronger. So moving on from that, what are we actually celebrating tonight in particular? Well, for one, there is the fact that we kept Mythoverse Comics as an entity moving forward all through that shit show of a year, 2020. We had a hiccup with Mythics the first time out of the gate, but the second time it made it. Then we had what I've come to think of as our great experiment with our Hallowed Harvest anthology. That was another campaign we ran. It featured a great collection of Halloween-themed stories organized by creators within the community who believed in our brand and wanted to uplift and enrich it. So I was very, very, very proud of that one. I'm really glad it worked out. I'm really glad everyone seems to like it, and we got it into everyone's hands, safe and sound, all through all the hardships imposed upon dwindling supply chains, small staffs in the printing departments, all that sort of thing. So we got that done. We also had our first full-length one-shot comic with Dropping Out, and we had several short comics, including 2 new ones this year already, and it's only the very beginning of March. All told, 85 comic pages and 3.5 hours of audio for patrons on our Patreon alone. So that's something to be proud of right there. We also have a coloring book nearing completion, and a brand new serial comic and anthology project coming along really well, and a lot of other things as well that aren't quite in a ready enough state to talk about or to share, but they're coming. So anyway, while I'm doing my best to help facilitate all of that I've just talked about, I've also been getting ready for tonight. So what is tonight? Well, tonight is the night that I'm going to be pushing Mythoverse forward in a big way with issue 2 of my own comic, Adobe Kroger, Dame Commander. So without any more time, let's go ahead and get this party started. So, before I move on, let me check the chat real quick. Alabaster Scarf says he's late. James Stern says, howdy folks. You'll have the show running in no time. Yeah, well yeah. And Rosalind joins us. Hey Rosalind, how you doing? So anyway, up on the screen right now is the Kickstarter page. I spent the last month or so hyping this up. Alabaster says, hurry up, I'm on my bathroom break. Alright, well then I won't BS anymore. I'll just go straight into the main show. I spent the last month or so hyping this up. We got 57 pre-sign-ups already on the campaign. And I think there's quite a bit of anticipation for me to go ahead and pull the trigger here, so I'm not going to waste any more time. Let me go ahead and do that very thing. So let me see. I have to check a checkbox here on the ready to launch page. Okay, did that, blah, blah, blah. Disclaimer, 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 legalese, terms of use, and launch now. So here it goes. I'm clicking the bright, big launch now button. Okay. I'm muted and deafened on Discord. I am. Well, there we go. Now I'm not. Alright, so let's see. Alright,
there we go. That's better.
Yeah. Well, I had to get through my spiel anyway. So anyway, the Kickstarter is now live. I'll go ahead and while everyone has a chance to have a look at it, I will go through the Twitters, the Discords, the Minds, the Facebooks, and let everyone know that it's up and running. And while we do that, I will be having a look at the campaign and talking about the tiers and what you can expect. A lot of work went into this bad boy, and I am personally very excited to show everyone all about it. So let me just get some tweets out. Okay, there is the Twitters. Let me go over to the Minds. Okay. Let me go over to the Facebooks.
Guess who pledged first again?
I can't even begin to imagine who would have pledged first. Okay.
The same guy who always pledges first. It's Alabaster.
Well, thank you, Alabaster. Alright. So yeah, so we got 2 backers, $35 right off the bat. Okay. So, I sent out the notifications, and I will continue to do so throughout the evening. But for right now, let's just have a look at the campaign itself. Alright. So, what we have here is what I was after for in this campaign. I'm going to have to deafen myself again. I'm hearing a lot of echo. That's distracting. Okay. So, okay, sorry about that. Someone is echoing. I think it's you, Brett.
Can't be me. I've got the feed muted.
Okay. All right.
Plus my headset's plugged in.
Okay. Well, I'm still hearing an echo, so I'm gonna go ahead and... Could you mute yourself for just 1 second while I go over this? Thank you very much. Sorry about that. Yeah, it was just kind of hard to concentrate while I was hearing my own voice in my ear. So anyway, what was my goal for this campaign? Well, my goal for this campaign was essentially I wanted to focus on the story. I wanted to focus on getting as much story content into backers' hands as possible, because I think that's the whole point of what we're doing here. We're here to tell great stories, and to that end, I am offering what I've called an embarrassing amount of content on this campaign, and I'm going to explain why I think that is the case. So, first and foremost, of course, at center stage is Adobe Kroger Dame Commander issue 2. It picks up immediately from where issue 1 left off. Okay, and it is a full 40 pages of brand new story content from Leandro Panganovan, and Brett Smith returns to color Leandro Panganovan's art on the cover, and we have this absolutely striking image here, which follows my requirement of actually depicting an event that takes place within the book. Okay, so before I get too much further, for those who have not read any of the previous comics or read the novel, what is Adobe Kroger all about? Okay, well, Adobe Kroger is all about a world in which 1,200 years ago, if you can picture Berserk or Attack on Titan, that's how hard it was to be a human being in those days. We were under constant threat, constant attack, and we were constantly beset and besieged by these very powerful eldritch demonic abominations. So eventually, one man finally decided he had enough. His name was Charlemagne, and he said, if this is God's will, then I'm going to find out if this is God's will that we live like this. He undertook a holy pilgrimage. He climbed to the top of a mountain range called Jungfrau Joch in Switzerland, one of the highest points that you can reach in Europe. And he had a 2-week-long vigil where he prayed, fasted, and reached out to God and asked him, is this how we are meant to live? And he was granted the power to actually do something about all of these eldritch abominations that were laying waste to humanity wholesale. He was granted the power to channel the divine power of light, love, and creation directly from God himself. And he and his 12 peers led a devastating counterattack against the evil forces that had been besieging humanity. Fast forward 1,200 years, and the order that he spawned, the Order of the Carolingian Cross, has grown to encompass the entire human world. They now essentially govern the human world from the shadows, unbeknownst to the general population, but continuously and constantly maintaining an almost overwhelmingly strict vigil against both demonic entities and the misuse of magic. So we are now in a world where magic is illegal, heavily regulated by this powerful ancient order of holy knights. Now, Adobe Kroger is the newest recruit to this order, and she finds herself assigned to her very first mission to rescue a group of innocent girls from a sadistic evil cult that is misusing magic to fuel their depraved sadistic orgies. So issue 1, what we find out in issue 1 was that they successfully breached the building, along with her 2 teammates, Casey Crumb, a wizard in the employ of the Order, and Reese Connolly, a non-magical combat expert called a Myrmidon. They successfully breached the security, but Adobe, while pursuing the cult leader who she was assigned to apprehend, was forced to defend an innocent bystander, and the cult leader apparently escapes. So we rejoin Adobe and her team in issue 2 as her mission continues, and the stakes, the action, and the body count elevate to an absurd degree, and Adobe must dig deep to rescue these innocents from the clutches of this evil cult leader. So here we have some samples of art from issue 2. Here is the first page here, and when I saw this art, I was absolutely astonished at the level of detail he put into this establishing shot. Now, when I first saw Leandro turn in the artwork for Adobe Kroger, I did not intend for it to be black and white, but the strength of his black and white line work was such that I felt color was unnecessary, and Brett Smith, who actually colored the cover, tended to agree. He felt that Leandro's artwork was black and white artwork, and it should be left as such. And I felt that not only does that fit the tone of the story, but it also made a lot of financial sense. Printing in black and white is much less expensive, and if your artist can in fact pull it off, then I highly recommend that you go with it. Okay, so here on, I have a section here. If you happen to be new to the series, I posted some artwork here that gives you some informational rundown. on Adobe's Combat Kit, as well as the order itself. I have a little bio page for her two teammates, Casey Crum and Reese Connolly. Okay. And some little, a little sheet that goes over the rank emblems that the members of the Carolingian Cross wear on their shoulders. You see Adobe has it right here. Okay. And Adobe's rank is right here, Acolyte Sentinel 3rd class, and you can see there's quite a bit of ranks above that. So when we join her, she is a very low ranking member of the Order of the Carolingian Cross. So with all that in mind, let's go over what you can expect to get when you back this campaign. Now, there's quite a bit on offer here, so that's why I wanted to go over it with you. And again, as I state here, my primary goal is to share Adobe's continuing stories with as many people as I can manage. So with that in mind, I'm offering a wide variety of options ranging from easily accessible digital editions of all the books to great big deluxe packages for those who really want to support the project. But I don't want anyone that may have a tighter budget to miss out on the stories. So as you'll see, even if you only have under $10 to spare, you'll be able to get all the comics featuring Adobe that we've put out so far digitally. Okay. So in addition to issue 2, I'm also offering issue 1 for anyone who missed it in the first campaign or hasn't had a chance to check out our Patreon or purchase it on the store. So if you're brand new and you haven't read issue 1, it's going to be made accessible to every tier on the campaign, at the very least digitally. In addition to those 2 books, there are 2 short stories that I mentioned earlier that feature Adobe Kroger in the lead. The first one of these was the aforementioned first 22-page full-length one-shot story called Dropping Out. Okay, and that was written by myself with art by Dylan Fagan, and that depicts the darkest night in Adobe Kroger's life and how she very nearly succumbed to the darkness forever. But this was also the day that turned her life around and set her on the path to redemption. And I include one sample page from this book and no more, because this book, in order to really truly appreciate it, you need to experience it cold. Because as you see here, Dylan takes a fairly stylistic, expressionistic approach, using the visuals to not only depict the action, but to also depict Adobe's psychological state. And he does that very effectively. Let me explain like a few of the things that I noticed about this one page here that leads me to believe that this kid really knows what he was doing. And I didn't really have to direct him too much either. I mean, a lot of these choices he made on his own, and he almost seemed to understand what I was after with the script. So if you notice here, there's no punctuation on any of her captions here. And while I did designate that in the script, he left them out, and he did so to depict the disjointed nature of her thoughts. And that was exactly what I was trying to show. She's in a very bad place here. She's coming down off of a drug high, and she's going through withdrawals. So her brain is literally all over the place. And that comes across really well because without the punctuation, the sentences just feel like they drop off and are immediately cut into the next one. So beautiful, and the colors are just so expressionistic and strong. And as the story goes on, it gets more and more almost abstract as she falls deeper and deeper into madness. So beautiful piece of work here. 22 pages. Dropping Out will also be made available digitally and in print on the campaign. Okay, give me 1 second here. I'm going to go ahead and undeafen. See if that got it. Great. Okay, so moving on. This is the second short comic that I'm going to be offering. This was a recent addition to the Mythoverse library. and it features a extraordinary new talent that I'm very, very pleased to have been able to work with, Rosalind Summers. What this story is called Bitch. Okay, very aptly named, and it basically tells you all you need to know about what's inside. So, Bitch is an 11-page short story, and it follows the events of Dropping Out, the 22-page story. After dropping out, Adobe is given a choice: either go to juvie or go to this strict reform school for girls called Blessed Nativity. And Adobe obviously chooses the latter because she is not actually given a choice. So, at Blessed Nativity, she meets this character here, Isabel Duffy. Now, this is a character that was created by another Mythoverse creator. His name's Gorgonite, that's what we call him. And she has a story being developed as well. But in this early part of her story, she crosses paths with Adobe Kroger, and they have something of a confrontation. And Adobe does not come off looking very good. She's at a very low point in her life. But Isabel learns that there might be a little bit more than meets the eye to this troubled young lady, or bitch, as everyone calls her. Okay. So in addition to those issue 1, issue 2, and those 2 short comics, there's a special treat here. I'm showing you right now a special variant cover for Adobe Kroger Dame Commander issue 2. By Dylan, the artist who brought us Dropping Out. Now, this is a variant cover that's reminiscent of the 90s dark age of comics, where everything was heavily over exaggerated. There are a lot of pouches, a lot of muscles, a lot of pupilless eyes, a lot of very gritty, manly men, and all that stuff. And this is a fine send-up of that style. And there are special add-on tiers where I offer this variant cover in addition to the tier where you can just get the cover on its own. But it would make me very happy if some folks pick this cover up, because I really want to support this young man's work. He does fantastic work for the Mythoverse. He works very hard, and he's extremely talented, which is why it pleases me very much to be able to offer this as the variant cover for issue 2. Okay. So, we got the 2 comics, we got the 2 short comics, one-shots, we got the variant cover. Moving on, in addition to all that, this I am very excited about. I'm offering for the very first time in this campaign this brand new print edition of Adobe Kroger Knight Errant, the first Adobe Kroger novel. It's a brand new edition because it has all new cover art, completely redone top to bottom. I found this fantastic illustrator named Musam Banjari to capture the style that I was looking for. I gave him a very brief description, and he nailed it almost immediately. He barely needed any feedback from me. So, this book tells the story of 3, as I say, deadly but very important days in Adobe Kroger's life, and it takes place a year after the events of Dame Commander, and the events of Dame Commander are hinted at in this novel. Interestingly enough, the novel was the first story I completed for the character, and I initially conceptualized Adobe Kroger back in 2011, before my daughter was born, and suffice to say, I felt that I could finish it before she was born because I was on a rut. I was on a roll. Got about 50,000 words done in 2 weeks. But after my daughter's 4th birthday, I was still working on it. So these things take time. But the end result, I'm very, very pleased with it. 144,000 words told in first person, all in Adobe Kroger's voice. And that means I worked very hard to make it sound as if the story is being told to you as though you are sitting at a pub, each with a beer, and she was doing her best to recollect these important events while slightly drunk. So the narration, the voice is very earthy. It has a lot of verbal tics in it, and it's very naturalistic. And I'm very proud of how the book turned out. It's received a number of very positive reviews. And I have those right here. I gave 3 examples of them right here. In addition to the novel, there was also an audiobook produced, which is probably the crown jewel of this collection in terms of how proud I am of it. This audiobook is 15 hours of content, narrated by an exceptional professional voice actor named Addison Peacock. And over the course of a year, we produced this book together, and she gave Adobe her first voice, and it is an exceptional voice. The audiobook is actually, if I'm ever asked and forced to be honest, it's my preferred method for ingesting this story. The novel's great, I'm very proud of it, but Addison's performance elevates it to the point where I feel this is the definitive way to experience Adobe Kroger's story. And Adobe Kroger Knight Errant is a highly character-driven, although it is character-driven, but I've actually had it compared to Black Widow in an episode of 24 while on laundry day with no gear. So Adobe's got no gear. What she's depicted as wearing on the cover is fairly accurate. She's caught with her pants down for 3 solid days on a hell ride, and she gets embroiled in a pretty nasty conspiracy. And we get inside her head quite a bit. So don't want to go into it too much. There's an audio sample here where you can get a good look at the what you can expect from the audiobook as far as the prose and as far as the quality of the narration. So moving on. I'm very proud of this next bit right here. The best part of all of this is everything I'm offering on this campaign is already done. That means all the comics are drawn, all the comics have been printed. Here is a picture of all of the print copies right here. In other words, it's ready to go. The book's ready to go. The audiobook is ready to go. All these comics are ready to go. Upon the completion of the campaign, they're just going to be sent out to you as soon as they're printed. There will be no production delay whatsoever. So essentially what this campaign is a pre-order store rather than a way to fund the production of these books. The books have already been produced. So if you back the campaign, the digital content will be released as soon as the campaign funds are released. That usually takes about 2 weeks. And the books will be ordered immediately upon clearing of the funds. So at the bottom of the campaign, I go over all the expected time frames for all of those, and I will get to those in just a moment. But before I do that, just want to move on because there's more, believe it or not. Okay, so in the Mythics 2 campaign, we did offer we did offer the Mythoverse Year 1 Omnibus, which is pictured here. It's 152 pages of comic content, and it compiles Adobe Kroger #1, Mythics #1, Changeling #1, the full run of Mythochibis, the webcomic, and all of the community art that we received in the first year of the Mythoverse's existence. So it is a 152 page perfect bound paperback volume. The quality is absolutely gorgeous, and that one's also ready to go. So there won't be any wait there either. If you order this, it'll go right out to you. But wait, yes, there is more. I have been teasing this one out for quite some time. Early in 2020, I commissioned Sashi to complete a dakimakura, as it's called, or a waifu body pillow, featuring Adobe Kroger in a wonderfully spicy, suggestive pose here. Now, this tank top and underwear she's wearing is actually a reference to a scene in Adobe Kroger Knight Errant, the novel, where she is forced to fight a monster in the rain, dressed like this, armed with nothing but a banjo. So that's one of my favorite scenes. It was an absolute delight to write that combat scene, and I'm frequently told it is probably the most memorable combat scene that they have read. So if that's not spicy enough for you, I also have this not safe for work version, which obviously I can't show, but trust me, it's hot. You're gonna love it. So you can either select the one where she's slightly more clothed than this, or you can pick this. Pick the safe for work version or the not safe for work version, either or. And here's a photograph of the pillow, just to show that it exists, that it's not just a JPEG that I pasted on the campaign. These things are real, and they will be immediately available once the funds clear. So, all right. So I went through a lot there. So there's digitals, prints, books, audiobooks, pillows. There's so much to choose from. So I've organized all the tiers together, and there's quite a few of them. The reason that there's 23 altogether. That seems like a lot, but it's actually arranged in what I feel is a nice hierarchical sequential order that builds off of the previous. So I start with the simplest and build up to the most complex, and each one is sort of a stepping stone to the next one. So with all that being said, let me go over them real quick. Okay, so the first one, for $5, this is the entry level tier. So for this you get PDFs of issues 1 and 2. So that's 64 pages of story for $5. Not bad, not bad. For $8, we have the digital side stories tier. Okay, and that includes PDFs of issues 1 and 2 and digital editions of Dropping Out and Bitch. That's a total of 97 pages of comic story for $8, and that'll be delivered digitally. For $10, we build off of that, and we offer the issue 2 in print edition. So you get all the digitals, issue 2, issue 1, Dropping Out and Bitch, along with a exquisite print edition of Adobe Kroger Dame Commander issue 2. Moving on, the $10 tier here. If you elect to support our main man Dylan, you can get the variant edition in lieu of the retail variant cover. And this tier also includes all of the digitals. Okay. All right, moving on to $15 tier, we have issue 1 and 2 in print, the retail variants of issue 1 and 2, and all of the digital editions. For $20, $5 more, you get everything from the $15 tier, but I'll also throw in Dylan's variant cover for you. So if you're a completionist and this is all you're after, then this is a good tier for you.
I would very much love if you guys supported the variant cover. I will send you a digital cookie or something out now.
Yeah, it makes me happy to see Dylan's work being sold. So if you have a couple of extra bucks, the way that I've arranged this is each one of these tiers has a supplementary tier. For an additional $5, you can get a copy of the variant edition. And you'll see that as I move on. Okay. Okay, before I go on any further, let me just check the chat. Okay. NeoStar says the audiobook was great. I'll have to give that a second listen. Thanks, Neo. Rosalind says the artist is incredible. Y'all got great talent. Yep. And Duskquill says plethora of goodies. Yeah, there's quite a bit to be had here. Okay, so moving on to the $25 edition, $25 tier is the print edition of the main and side stories. So you get all the digitals, of course, issue 1, issue 2, Dropping Out and Bitch, and all those works also in print. Okay. And as you can see here, these are pictures of the actual print books. They're real, they exist. You won't have to wait for them. Okay. Moving on to the $30 tier is the print edition along with the main and side stories. Okay, so this has all the digitals, has all the prints from the previous tier, as well as a print copy of Dylan's variant. So you're beginning to see the pattern here, basically. You can get a tier with all the all the goodies here, and another tier for $5 more, and you get Dylan's variant. Okay, so $35 tier. This is for someone who wants to check out the novel in print as inexpensively as possible, but also wants all the books digitally. So you can get all the digital books and paperback of Adobe Kroger Knight Errant for $35. And that's 144,000 words and all 97 pages of the comics. Okay, so the $45 tier. For that, it's everything that you get from $35, but I throw in the audiobook. Okay, now this is an excellent package here if you want to check out the novel as cheaply as possible and the audiobook. It's actually cheaper to get it here than it would be from Audible. Okay, the $50 tier. This is where I start adding in the Year 1 Omnibus, the 152-page Mythoverse compilation of the Year 1 content. So for $50, you get all the print books. That's issue 1, 2, Bitch Dropping Out, all the digitals, and the Omnibus. For $55, you get everything from the $50 tier and Dylan's variant. Okay. So for $80, okay, we get the print novel, all the digitals, and all of the prints from the $50 tier. So that's issue 1, issue 2, Bitch Dropping Out, and the Omnibus. Okay. So for $85, we get everything from the $80 tier along with Dylan's variant. For $90, you get the print novel, print comics, audiobook, and digitals. So it's basically everything from here and including the audiobook. Okay. The $95 tier is all that plus Dylan's variant. All right, now we're getting into the pillow tiers. Okay, so for $100, I call that the Huggable Pillow Bundle. That includes all the digitals, all the books, including the Omnibus. And when the campaign concludes, if you've backed at this tier, the survey will ask you if you want the safe for work or not safe for work version of the pillow. Okay, for $105, we add on Dylan's variant to this tier. Okay, $125 is the Huggable Novel Bundle. So that gives you the pillows, the prints, the digitals, and Knight Errant. Okay. $130 is the Huggable Novel Bundle with variant. Okay, seeing the pattern there, just add $5, you get the additional comic. Okay, $130 is the Huggable Audio Bundle. So that's the pillows, everything from above, and I throw in the audiobook. For $135, that's everything from the $130 tier and Dylan's variant. And last but not least, the $200 Cameo Bundle. There's only 5 of those. Now, this will allow you to, of course, get everything, including Dylan's variant, but you will also be written into the book not as a background character, but as a character that has lines that's already been pre-scripted by me to interact with Adobe or some other important cast member, and they will actually move the story along. And you might even appear more than once. So it's not just, hey, look, that's me in the background. This is, hey, I'm a character in this world now. So there are only so many of those characters to go around, so it's obviously limited. Okay. So here I say, where will the money go? So, well, great question. Since everything's already produced, all the money is going to printing and shipping and handling. And anything that I have left over is going straight into producing Adobe Kroger Dame Commander issue 3. I think, like I say here, I think the best way I can provide additional value is just giving you guys more stories to read. And if this campaign performs very well, then issue 3 will get to you all the faster. Okay, so how long will it take me to get my stuff? I mentioned that I would get to this part. Okay, now this is something that needs to be answered in sections because there's multiple categories of goods that are going out. So I'll start with the digitals. As I say here, digitals will be fulfilled immediately upon the funds of the campaign clearing. That usually takes about 2 weeks, but if I get it earlier, I'll be sure to update the campaign and let you know. The digital content includes the digital comics and the audiobook. Okay, so the campaign will be updated when the funds clear and let everyone know when to check their inboxes for the links. Okay, moving on to the print comics. From my experience, once the orders are placed, that can take between 3 to 4 weeks to arrive. If there's any delays, I'll be sure to let you know. The print novels take about 2 to 3 weeks to arrive. That's my experience. That's how long it took me to get my proof. So once again, they'll be ordered as soon as the funds clear, and hopefully it'll only take 2 to 3 weeks to get your novels. And the body pillows, they take 1 to 2 weeks, usually 1, but I've had it take between 1 and 1.5 weeks, so I rounded up to 2 to be safe. So if you order a pillow, that's how long it'll take to get to you after the campaign completes. Last but not least, if you can't afford to back, just share the campaign. That's it. Spread the word. Let people know about it if you think it might be up their alley, might be their cup of tea. If you have anyone that's looking for something new to read, point them to this campaign, let them have a look at it. You don't have to talk with your wallet. Sometimes you just have to help spread the word, and that does all the good in the world. So lastly, I say I'm very much looking forward to sharing Adobe's continuing stories with you, and I really am grateful for the opportunity to do so. And in the risks and challenges, well, I just basically say that when you're backing a campaign, we realize that you are speculating in a brand and there's risk involved. But I believe that I've mitigated a good amount of risk by doing all the work before I launch the campaign. So there won't be any delays with producing the artwork, lettering it, getting it set. That's all been done already. So if you back this campaign, you will get your work in a timely manner. And I will do everything I can, short of every printer I hire to do the job suddenly blowing up. It will get done. So that is the campaign. I put a great deal of work into producing the content for it, and not just myself, but several creative teams have worked together to bring you this content, and I am just glad to finally be able to launch it and to let everyone have a look at it, see if it's something that they might like. So we're up to 10 backers. We have $579 so far. Very, very good start. And wow, that is really good. Very, very, very happy about that. So, hey Dylan, are you there?
Yeah, I am.
Cool.
Sorry, I was eating something.
Yeah, no problem at all. So, seeing as that we're featuring your variant cover so prominently on this campaign, would you mind walking us through your creative process here? What made you decide on this particular aesthetic for the variant cover?
I was thinking, okay, well, what could I do for a variant cover, right? So I was looking up ideas, and I was just looking up old Rob Liefeld stuff, and my cover isn't completely authentic because my proportions are not as wonky, as Rob Liefeld. But
and you seem to be able to draw feet.
Yeah, I'm able to draw feet. I'm like Rob Liefeld.
Yeah, I noticed that her feet, seem to be anatomically consistent with her leg, and so I'm not sure what your problem is, but you totally blew it, dude.
Oopsies. But yeah, I just wanted to capture the sort of feel of like a 90s comic, but yeah, I just wanted the overall feel you would get looking at something like New Mutants and stuff like that. Obviously, comics that were actually made before my time, but I appreciate them nonetheless.
They definitely had their place. I really appreciate that you put a pouch on Adobe's belt. But only one pouch, so that's remarkable restraint on your part.
Oh, next time I do a variant cover, there'll be more pouches.
Yes, you need more. Definitely need more pouches. So, I do appreciate that Reese's eyes have no pupils in them. That's very important.
Youngblood's disease.
Youngblood's disease. Yes, and Casey Crumb kind of reminds me of Jubilee here.
Yeah, that was the idea.
All right. Yeah. Well, like I said,
she had like the '90s equivalent to like the Tumblr haircut she has now.
It's weird. When I was in high school, people dyed their hair, but it had an entirely different significance at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. James says we're already a quarter of the way there with 10 backers. Yeah, looks great. Very happy with that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm right now. I'm looking at the sample page for Bitch. Now, this was actually a story. I think this was the first Adobe story that was not written by myself. I consulted on it, but the story was Dylan's creation. So Dylan is not only an artist; he's also a writer. So, what made you decide to explore this particular period, Dylan?
Sorry, hold on. I was dealing with the dog. The idea was, I wanted to do a story with Gorgonite's character, and he had planned on, her being the paladin, and we thought it'd be a cool idea to have them cross paths, and that Catholic school they went to, the Blessed Naive.
Blessed Nativity.
Yeah, tongue-tied. Sorry. And I just thought it'd be cool to sort of write Adobe in sort of this more antagonistic role. I mean, it shows multiple sides of her, but the name Bitch itself, it's not directly just aimed at Adobe. It can be it's sort of aimed both at Isabel and Adobe, because the story brings up misconceptions about people, early judgment, you'll see a person and immediately you're like, oh, well, what's their problem? They're an asshole or something like that, and it's just like, well, you don't know what that person's going through. You can call. Oh, sorry, that's my cat. You can call. He wants my cereal. No. Yeah, he. Not the cat. Yeah, the sort of. Yeah, like I said, it just talks about people's conceptions of other people, and then learning that there's obviously a lot more to this person than we know. We don't know what's going on in their life, why they are the way they are.
Yes.
And that's sort of what I addressed with that. Isabel was sort of the stood in place of the reader, learning, interacting with his character, and sort of learning something herself, and
yeah, I think that's one of the things I like most about this short story is neither Isabel or Adobe are entirely in the right at all. Like, Adobe does come off pretty bad, and Isabel learns obviously something that she probably didn't want to learn but needed to learn to understand where Adobe's coming from. And they're both treated sympathetically, and as Rosalind said, Dylan's scripts are very easy to follow. He writes them like a champ, and I agree.
Thank you.
Yep, she said that in the chat just now. And
I'll have to go look at it.
So,
I'll take a screenshot.
yeah, so there's your endorsement, Dylan. But not only does he write very well, but he puts a lot of love into what he writes. Whenever he was writing an action Adobe was taking or a line she was saying, he would always Dylan would always consult with me to make sure that that was in character. That is this something she would do? Is this how she would say this? And the closing exchange in particular was, sort of a mini collaboration between Dylan and myself, because we both arrived at this is how this situation would play out and this is what she would say. And I think it made the closing sequence of the book really strong.
See, I mean, I consulted a few, but I feel like when it comes to, of all the Mythoverse characters, I've spent the most time with Adobe. Because I listened to the entire, I listened for like a day and a half to the Adobe audio novel. I've read the comics. I've talked with you privately, kind of picked your brain on Adobe and who she is, where she's going, and it's like, I know this character. I know who she is, and it honestly feels like we're not just writing this character. We're writing out the life of this individual who's going through hard times. We keep beating her up, but she keeps going no matter what. And honestly, that is like the most inspiring thing about her.
Well, thank you very much. I agree. And she definitely does go through some dark times. Dylan and I depict that in Dropping Out here. And that was this comic was based on a sequence that was referenced in the novel Knight Errant, where she recounts this particular night where she very nearly lost everything. And and this whole book came about because Dylan had been working very hard to produce short comics initially for this COVID anthology that was interacting with the vampire that you collaborated with Matt on. And then you did a short called Maria, where you depicted a young Althea. And after I saw Maria, I just saw that your art had come so far so fast, and I thought to myself, well, I got to get this guy a script. I've got to see what he can do. And I had this sequence out of the novel, and I said, would you like to, turn this sequence into a comic? And Dylan was immediately very enthusiastic, and he dove right into it with everything he had. And he messaged me a couple times saying that he had even stayed up till 2 or 3 a.m. finishing a page. And I said, well, I don't want you to kill yourself, but I really appreciate that you are this enthusiastic and driven. So I knew that I had found someone that was a good fit for the Mythoverse creative team. And not only with this particular book here, Dropping Out, and everything else he's done, but just the sheer amount of enthusiasm and love for the creations and the characters he brings to everything he does makes him just a very valuable addition to the team. And I would definitely expect very, very good things from him in the future.
The thing about staying up late is that I usually stay up late anyway. I'm kind of a night owl. But it's like, but I was like dead focused on, getting these pages turned out. That last little bit there with Dropping Out, it was just like bam, 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 like I'm doing hand motions, no one can see it, but
Yeah, like I said, the most interesting thing for me about Dropping Out was it was initially supposed to be an 11-page or 12-page short story. But as soon as I saw Dylan's early pages, I was thinking, this needs to be a full-length floppy, because I think his art can carry a full-length floppy all the way through. Now, I don't know if you had ever done a 22-page script before, But if you hadn't, then you definitely handled this one very well. And
Thank you.
one of the things that I found so fascinating about the creative process behind this is I produced the script, gave it to Dylan, told him what happens, but I didn't give him any real direction other than the first panel of the first page. The first page I said there's going to be a splash page with an inset, and there's a reason I do that. It's because if you look at the first page of Dame Commander and the first page of Dame Commander issue 2, they both begin with a splash page and an inset. And I do this because what we see here is the enormity of her situation. She's dwarfed by it. It's almost oppressive. Like, I made sure that Leandra would tilt the angle backwards so that it looks like the school is almost looming over her and like overpowering her. And then when we go from this scene to the inset where she's isolated, cut off from everything, not only she's completely being dominated by the scene here, and she has no help whatsoever. So that's kind of a thematic approach I've been taking to her early stories, and I told Dylan that I wanted that layout more or less mirrored here, but other than that, I just told him what happens, and the result of that was, I think, quite frankly glorious, because Dylan took the idea of her mind gradually crumbling as she fell into withdrawals.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
You gave me the script. It was fairly basic. It just described the events. And the thing, a little inside baseball. When I was doing it, I'm like, I'm throwing all this crazy. Okay, well, Mom. When I was doing all these crazy stuff on the images, I'm like, well, I can't replicate that from page to page. So I just decided that every page would do something either a little differently or drastically different. Because I was trying to avoid doing things sequentially and consistently, because it's just like, well, I can't replicate that. Because I don't know how I did it. I just kind of did it. No, like, the entirety of Dropping Out is me just doing stuff kind of on a whim.
Well, I got that impression, but I also didn't want to hinder it because I liked what I was seeing. It turned Dropping Out into like a distinctive visual feast, but it's also a feast that's kind of tastes terrible. Like the story itself isn't terrible, but Dylan has called the story very ugly, and I believe you said that made you wince reading it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Reading the script, it made me wince. Yeah. It's a great story, but it's an ugly story. It's an ugly story about a horrible person. To be honest, a horrible person, but she's horrible due to not being able to cope with, the hand she's been given. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because sometimes people are given, a rough deal, and it's like, there are people who go through it in stride and come out the other end okay. Adobe, she didn't quite get how to do that. She didn't have the sort of correct foundation from the start. Very rocky foundation, and she obviously, with that foundation, she fell. She couldn't quite get herself up and straight and narrow.
Yeah, she definitely needed help. And she got it. And that's all hinted at the very end of Dropping Out. And the way that Dylan depicts that moment was fantastic.
Yeah.
And yeah, I won't say any more about it, but it's a visual feast. You're going to see imagery that you probably have not seen in comics. If you have seen it, not for a very long time, it's deeply disturbing, but it's very creative. And as Dylan said, it's very stream of consciousness and not necessarily deliberate, but the results is something I'm very proud of. I'm very proud of very proud to add to the Mythoverse canon.
Yeah, something else. When we were talking about it, and you're like, and I was asking, well, is this going to be a darker story? And you said, well, yeah, absolutely. See, there was an original vision I had in mind, and it was drastically different than the final product that came out.
But I wouldn't have had it any other way, because the way that I envisioned it was perhaps a bit more conventional. When you began to do these experimental things, I was like, "Run with it, dude. Let's see what you got."
And I love doing it the entire. That image of Adobe and Riley was actually a lot. The sort of muted colors. With their skin tones and clothing, that was actually closer to the original vision I had. Where I had, to sort of get the feeling down, I watched the Breaking the Habit video, Linkin Park, sort of get that rough, sketchy feel for it.
Mm-hmm.
That was the thing I went for, and then my mind just went somewhere else. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll do this, and then this and that. It just kind of naturally just came out. I had no idea what I was doing. I did make a few conscious decisions, like keeping the periods out of the sentences.
Mm-hmm.
That was like one of the few conscious decisions I made.
Yeah, well,
because
Go ahead.
Huh?
Go ahead. Didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah. I was just wrapping up, but yeah, and overall, it was genuinely just. It was a rough story, but I had so much fun, doing this whole new thing, and I came out of it. I felt like I've learned a lot, because dropping out was very much a learning experience. Doing the Patreon content too, doing all that, compared to when I first started doing comics, even before the Mythoverse. It was just like a little fan stuff. There's a lot I learned. There's a lot of intricacies. There's when I started doing script writing, my original scripts were, this is going off on other things, but it's like, where, my first few scripts I've ever done, it's like, oh my God, looking back, I'm just like, but doing stuff for the Mythoverse has, I feel like, has taught me how to better myself as an artist and a writer, and dropping out definitely helped me better myself as an artist. And I really, through the halfway point, that's when I really started to get a feel for it, when really I just cranked it into high gear. I mean, it was already on like a trippy point at the beginning, but once it got to a certain point, just when I just threw everything at the wall and sort of put in what I just sort of imagined,
Mm-hmm.
Because and afterwards it was amazing, because I've had people tell me that this is probably the most accurate depiction of going through a withdrawal, and I'm just like, oh my God. I didn't know how I did it, but there are people who said it really resonated with them, and I honestly couldn't be like just happier. Just it was amazing.
Well, yeah, I agree. Like I myself have never gone through a withdrawal, but I've known many people who have, and I've definitely done a lot of research into all the things that Adobe goes through to make sure that it's depicted sympathetically and realistically without kid gloves at the same time. And the sequences where she does go through these withdrawals, I'm basing a lot of what I write on how I've heard it described. Like your mind literally goes in 15 different directions, interrupts itself, cuts itself off. The slightest thing can scare you out of your mind or make you blazingly angry for no real reason, and you just have absolutely no control. And here's the thing that they always try to make sure I understand is that when you are an addict, let's say the normal person, their happiness is at a 10, whatever. That's their baseline. An addict has had their brain damaged to the point where their baseline is a 6. Like that's how they are. And they take drugs to try to approach the 10, and they get to maybe an 8. Like they're almost there. But then when they drop out, hence the title, they go down to a 2 or a 1 or maybe even a -3. And
yeah,
it's so they're completely reliant on the substance to even approach normalcy. And when it wears off, they're twice as bad off as they were before they took it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty dark subject, but I think you've handled it wonderfully with dropping out. And
Yeah, the closest I've never been on drugs, honestly. The closest I ever got was to being on anesthesia, and I was in like the CAT scan machine. Ooh, ooh! I saw colors.
Yeah.
And then it ruined every other time I went to a CAT MRI, CAT scan machine. It's just like, oh well, that was fun. But so like, woo!
I can definitely relate. I got put on anesthesia when I got my wisdom teeth pulled when I was 17.
Oh god, when I got my wisdom teeth taken out, supposedly they put me under, but I was still conscious. And I couldn't really move very well because I felt very heavy, but I was still aware of what the guy was doing, and I could feel the poking. And it was a horrific experience.
Yeah, when I was out for pretty much the whole operation, luckily, but when I started coming out, so because I'm high as a kite. Pretty much all my, let me put it this way, my filter completely got turned off with it.
So
and my dad, my pastor dad, is in the operating room with me, hearing me curse up a storm.
Oh shit.
Yeah. I was under the impression that I would be unaware of what was going on, and that I would just wake up and it would be over, and that was not what happened at all.
Honestly, I think the only reason my dad did not beat my ass was because I was high off nitrates.
Awesome. All right.
I also did get baked one time. Context was I went down to Portland with a buddy to see. A friend of his his band was playing a show that night. And we went back to that guy's house for the night because the roads were snowed and kind of iced over, and did not want to put myself at risk driving it all the way up from Oregon back to Washington. So we spent the night there. He and his girlfriend rolled up a joint, offered, and I took it to be polite. Honestly, I walked away from that experience asking myself, why do people hype this stuff up? I don't get it. Like, And supposedly I got really stoned, and the next morning I was definitely feeling the munchies, but it's like I just sat on a couch just being baked and not really getting it. Like, it just, yeah, it's not like it didn't click. I walked away from that realizing that weed was not for me. Then again, I'm also the guy who bought a pack of cigarettes on a lark and ended up tossing the whole pack out after smoking 3 of them because I found out I hated how they tasted.
Well, my experience was similar. The first time I tried it, my buddies were all... They took a couple of puffs and they started doing the stoner thing. And I just stood there saying, when's it gonna kick in? And they're like, shut up, you're harshing my buzz, don't diss the weed. No, they literally said that. And I wish I was making it up, but I'm not. That was what they said. And I said, I'm not trying to harsh your buzz or diss the weed. I can't pretend that I'm feeling anything. So I never tried it again after that.
It was better than my dad's first experience. My dad smoked pot when he was in high school once with some cousins.
Mm-hmm.
He and yeah, so his cousin's apartment had a pool. You can probably guess where this is going.
Did it do the I'm a golden god thing?
Something like, to hear my dad tell it, it ended with him almost drowning in that pool, and the next morning he's feeling the munchies and his aunt hands him a frozen pizza.
Oh, I just got an idea. Oh my god. Okay, Dobie Kroger short comic. You know, she's still in school. They're like on like the projector or something. They're watching Reefer Madness, and the whole time Adobe's just like,
You might as well make it the Adobe version of the version of a what was it? Fuck. It's a thing that Mystery Science Theater guys do now. Riff Tracks, that was it. You might as well make it the Adobe version of Riff Tracks of Reefer Madness. It's like she's just the whole time she's just watching it and just heckling at it.
No, get Addison Peacock to get in character as Adobe. She's just like ripping on the movie. She's like, "Oh no, that's not how they act. Oh no." Oh my god.
I do not think we can get away with printing a comic where teenage Adobe smokes pot. I just don't see that happening for us.
Oh no, it can be adult Adobe. She's just like watching it one day. Like she found it on the internet somewhere. She's watching it. And she's just like, wow, they got this wrong. Ooh. Because it's true. I watched it once and I was just like, I'm not a stoner, but they don't get up and get hyperactive and start dancing like they do. And it's like, no, they're on the couch staring into space.
Well, let me put it this way: if you're having that reaction to pot, it is not the pot doing it.
I think Adobe. I think unironically, dropping out can also serve as a PSA, an anti-drug PSA.
Yeah, after you see what she does, yeah, you'll probably want to stay as far away from it as possible. That's how I always saw Train Spotting. I mean, that was probably the best warning against heroin you could possibly imagine, if only for the sequence where he craps his sheets. Like, do you really want to do that? Do you really want? I'm thinking
of the scene where Renton starts sinking through the floor when he's high.
Yeah, there's that, but you don't want to crap your sheets in front of your girl. Let's see. I'm just gonna go through the chats really quick because I haven't been reading them. So Neostar sings us a little melody there. Memories consume like opening the wound. I'm picking me apart again. You'll all assume I'm safe here in my room unless I try to start again. I'm not gonna try to sing it, so don't ask. Neostar says you could feel the intensity with each page. He's talking about dropping out, I assume, and yes, absolutely. Dylan it's a brutal script and it's got brutal artwork and it fits. then he says they try to dull the pain, but the pain never stops, and they only feel worse. I think he's talking about when we were talking about getting put under by dentists. Yes, I agree. And he had all of his wisdom teeth removed at once. Thankfully, I was put under when it happened. Yeah, I had all mine removed at once too. And I was not under when it happened. I was conscious and felt everything.
Jeez.
Yeah, it sucked. And he's never been stoned in my life. Me either. That sucks. But I tried. Elizabeth says you're a bunch of nerds. That's it. That's the message. Yeah, well, of course.
I just tried being passionate, gosh darn it.
Says the guy who reviews comic books on YouTube.
And Neostar says, Mythoverse wrist tracks, I'd love to see that. Maybe we can get something done with our voice actors. We'll see.
I know Neville and Matt would be up for that.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Just Neville alone would make it just...
Yeah.
It will be diss tracks with Kermit.
Oh.
With Kermit. Oh god. Yeah, he does the perfect Kermit.
Maybe it's Jordan Peterson. I can never tell which.
They're sort of one and the same at this point. Star Storyteller says, when my wisdom teeth got removed, I got a cocktail of different drugs. I had one drug the night before, then an hour before, and I just remember buttoning my brother's wrist and blanking out. I wish I had that experience. Like I told the guys, they drugged me up, and I was under the impression that I would wake up after the procedure, and that would be that. But I was awake, I just couldn't move, and I felt every damn thing he did. It was very, very frustrating.
Sleep paralysis on steroids.
Sounds
Nice. All right, we're up to $652 with 14 backers. Very cool. Thank you. Adobe is the stone, says James Stern. Yes, Adobe is a brick, and there is a story as to how she got her name by her parents, not by me, obviously. I've explained how I named the character many times, and it's exactly what you think it is. But in the story, her parents arrived at that name for her in a very specific way, and they made the mistake of explaining it to her at one point. And I'll probably reveal that in the second Adobe Kroger novel, Partisan Sentinel. Let me see. Now I want an edit of Adobe's face on the facade of a Kroger. Yeah. Well, that is exactly how I named her. Basically, I'll tell the story one more time here. When I was back in 2011, when I was conceptualizing this character, I wanted to give her a name that would stand out, be distinct, and hadn't been used and hadn't been taken. So, I don't know, I was sitting there and letting my mind wander, and I happened to be working on Adobe Photoshop, so I said, okay, great, there's her first name. I've never seen a character with that name. Bam, done. But what about her last name? Okay, well, my mind started wandering, I couldn't think of anything, and then I looked up around at my wall, and I had a Pac-Man poster on the wall, and the Pac-Man poster made me think back to when I was 6 years old, and I lived in Pittsburgh, and there was a Pac-Man arcade cabinet in a Kroger supermarket, and I went from that to Kroger, and hence her last name. That's it. That's literally it, and it's exactly what you think. It's based on those two brands precisely.
That's hilarious.
And then her middle name, I didn't know what I wanted it to be, except that it had to start with F, so that I could say that her initials were AFK. So
Adobe effing
Kroger. And I went with Francine because it seemed to be like a name that least suited her. Like, from my experience, when I was growing up, a lot of my friends had middle names that were so obnoxious they would hope that you wouldn't find out about it. Like, there was this girl whose name was Stacy Alexis, and she didn't want anyone to know that she had the name Alexis in her name anywhere. And so it had to be an annoying name. It had to be a name that doesn't suit her and that she wouldn't want anyone to find out about. So Francine it was. And in the novel, when Reese is trying to piss her off, he just calls her Francine. And that really gets her going. She hates that name.
I wonder if she gets like PTSD flashbacks from watching American Dad. Francine.
Francine.
or Arthur.
I know the joke is made in the Adobe Kroger novel that, like, if you just take the first and last initial, it's AK, so like AK-47, and one of her coworkers just constantly not berates her, but constantly calls her AK or AK-47.
Right.
But
exactly.
Why not Kalashnikov?
Why not Kalashnikov?
She should just say, okay, you want to call me AK? Call me Kalashnikov, because it's an infinitely more badass name.
Yeah. Well, that said coworker isn't very bright, so she probably wouldn't know what she was talking about.
True.
All right, so Star Storyteller.
If I met Adobe Kroger, I'd call her Kalashnikov and probably die the next second, but it'd be worth it.
Wait.
Just to see the name on her face.
Yep.
Look on her face, sorry.
I got an idea. Okay. Take Adobe, shave her head, put her in Agent 47 suit. Then she can literally be AK-47.
Gotcha.
Very nice.
Very nice. Okay, so Star Storyteller says if you're getting your wisdom teeth, ask for the value the night before and an hour before. Yeah, well, I wish I had known that. I'll know next time I get my wisdom teeth taken out. She says, I gotta go, but I'll share before I leave. All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Every share helps. We're already at $652, 14 backers, and it's only we've only had the campaign live for just about an hour and a half, so we're doing good.
Yeah, we're within a hair's breadth of being the 50%.
Yep.
That fast.
Yep, we're doing great. Lizabar says AK just called her assault rifle because an AK is the same as an AR-15, which stands for assault rifle, 15 kills per second. Well,
that old meme.
Well, I prefer the AR-14. That's much more lethal. Anyway,
just go with the AR-10. I believe the AR-10 was chambered in 7.62, or maybe it was 30 cal something.
Look,
I believe it was the bigger bullet.
I'll just quote what Revy said in Black Lagoon. If you can aim pretty much any gun, we'll do the job.
Yeah, I think AR-14 was a biting gaff. I'm not sure. Some politician called it an AR-14. I don't know who. Neostar says, if I ran into Adobe Kroger, I'd ask if she knew who's catering this year's office picnic. And she'd probably say, I get that all the time. It's okay. Yeah, poor girl. She has an unfortunate name. Scott says, am I late to the party? No, you're fine. Yeah, we're just hanging out right now. I went over the whole campaign, tier by tier, talked about the books, showed off some artwork, talked with Dylan about dropping out and bitch, and then we started talking about a whole bunch of other stuff that have to do with drugs. It all started with drugs.
I mean, we could get into the joke from, I don't know if it was yesterday or a couple days ago. Lenore noted how loathable of a human being you are, Dan.
It was yesterday. That was it was
a long day at work.
Laudable. She said it was laudable, and it was literally the best thing I saw all day.
Absolutely despicable, man.
Yeah,
literally puts aside hours of his time and helps me out with producing a Halloween anthology. Why? Why would you do that, you horrible human?
I don't know.
I particularly liked Vamp's response to that.
Yeah, I responded the only way I could. Basically, like everything you said except the dude part. Yeah, because Vamp, I've had a chance to work with Vamp a couple of times with some Patreon projects. In particular, she voiced the first 3 chapters of this book that my daughter and I were writing together, called The Sweetest Little Giant, which was like when she read the BFG, The Big Friendly Giant by Roald Dahl. She loved the story and the mythos so much that she began to imagine herself in that world, but she was upset because they said there are no giant women. Giants are always men. And she said, but I want to be a giant, but they say, giants are always men. And I say, well, check this out. At the end of the story, all the giants get exiled, and he's by himself, and he's happy for the first time in his life, the BFG, right? So maybe that happiness brings into life the BFD, the Big Friendly Daughter. And she said, oh, I love that idea. So we kind of started playing around with that idea. and just kind of blossomed into this whole separate story, which is kind of a spin-off of the BFG. And Vamp, I approached her to read the first 3 chapters of this book for the Patreon, and she just completely annihilated it. And she is very good, and she turned them in like within a day or 2 of me turning in like a 3,000 word chapter. So yeah, she's great. I love Vamp.
Yeah, I think Vamp ended up telling me like it was a bit of a challenge for her to get her head around, because up until this point, most of Vamp's narration experience was reading horror stories. So she constantly had to remind herself, Vamp, there's no gore in this. People are not going to die in this. You don't need to use the tense voice.
Yeah, and for the most part, she does not. You're right. But there was a section at the end of chapter 1 where the main character is being approached by the sweetest little giant, and she doesn't know what it is, and so it's a pretty tense moment. And so she messages me, with her that big O period big O emoji saying, "It got spoopy."
It got spoopy.
That is so in character.
Yeah.
That is so shit that she would say.
It was perfect. And I thought that was hilarious. And I said, yeah, it got a little spoopy, but she's okay. And I felt like, I realized that she reads, horrific stuff, so I didn't have to talk her down. But if you would have seen that cute little emoji and then the "it got spoopy" in caps with no punctuation, then your instinct would probably be like, oh, let me make sure she's okay. It was great. It was a great experience working with Vamp, and hopefully we'll get a chance to do it again.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, spoopy. That's like her catchphrase, Neo. It's for spooky.
I don't know if it's her catchphrase, because I've seen a lot of her streams, and I can't remember if she's ever used it. But yeah. Oh my god, it's just such it's a Vamp thing to say is what I'll say.
Yep. Okay, we're up to 672 with 15 backers. Thank you, Scott, for backing. Neo says,
We're doing good.
May take some time before I get the cameo tier. I'm still backing it. Yeah, don't stress, man. Don't worry about it. The cameo tier is there if you want it, and if you don't worry about it. Coincidentally, I do have a giant superheroine character I made a while back. Yeah, they're fun. They're fun. I love giants. When I was little, there was this fantastic children's book called The Book of Giant Stories. And the illustrator was just ungodly good. Like, the way that he handled scale was so convincing. When I was little, I actually believed these giants were real. And I wasn't afraid of them. I was just so utterly fascinated by them. And they felt like a place I could visit, in other words. So anyway, so there are 3 stories in there, and they all revolve around this boy. He's the common thread, kind of like Stephen King's Cat's Eye, like where we follow like this cat through all these different scenarios, and this boy deals with giants. Like, he has to help a sick giant who's causing earthquakes because he's sick, and there's a giant who's causing trouble because he's so frustrated that he doesn't know how to whistle. So like, the boy teaches him how to whistle, and all that kind of stuff. It's a great book. It's out of print, I think, but if you can find it on eBay and you have little ones, it's a great book to read to them. There's just something cool about giants. I don't know. I think that's why I was drawn to make that story with my daughter. Oh, we're up to $702 with 16 backers. All right, going great.
Doesn't it make you sad when you see something that like just goes out of print, or just you know what I mean, or something you saw as a kid and then it's just like, oh well, they don't make that anymore.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
There was cartoons I watched when I was younger, and then I go on the internet and then I hear it's like lost media, and I'm just like, wait a minute, what? How is that lost media? I watched that.
Oh God, Elizabeth, you always have to go there. I don't know, giants getting little boys to teach them to whistle sounds like something I'd see on the police blotter. Yeah, but it was wholesome and innocent in the story. I promise. I promise.
Yeah. There's quite a few manga I want to get that's actually out of print and just like, are you kidding me?
Yeah. Have you ever read Iron Fist Chinmei, or I think it's called Chinmei Iron Fist? It's one way or the other.
I have not.
Okay, that's a good one, and I think it's out of print. I haven't been able to find it.
Yeah, Helsing is out of print. I learned, and it just like you just had an anime like 10 years ago. Why didn't you reprint it then?
Yeah.
Like, are you kidding me? Apparently, it's been out of print for like almost 2 decades, and like, ugh.
I mean, we still got Drifters made by the same guy.
Well, yeah, that's true. But just like, yeah, you can just go and watch Helsing Ultimate, but just like,
It's not
there's
the
something
same.
well, yeah, it's not the same. It's just like,
Now, look, you don't have to behave, Elizabeth. I'm just letting you know that I swear to God, this was an innocent story. Well, at least I think it was. I don't know. I'm not in the author's head or anything, but for all I know, you're right. But I didn't take it that way when I was a kid. It was wholesome.
I kind of hope they don't put Farscape out of print because I want to get the DVD set.
right.
Something.
Oh yeah, you posted a pretty popular. You tweeted a pretty popular tweet the other day about Farscape, and you were saying that I'm gonna tell my kids that this was Guardians of the Galaxy.
I mean, if you watch it, you start to notice a lot of similarities between it and Guardians of the Galaxy. Is all I'm saying.
I've only watched a couple episodes of it. That was the period of time where I didn't watch a lot of TV. I mean, I knew of it, and almost everyone I knew watched it, and but I just missed it.
I binged it on Netflix back when I was using it. It was it, along with Red Dwarf, was one of those shows that got better as it went on. Like the first season's a little rocky because they're sort of trying to get the footing for the show. Mm-hmm. But like let me put it this way: once Scorpius became the main antagonist, that's when it really started firing off, and like it's probably legit one of my favorite science fiction shows of all time, and like it's got it had special effects that was done by the Jim Henson Company. Like, so, like, you've got aliens that legitimately look and feel alien. Like, they're not just people in makeup. I mean, you still have that, but you have legitimately good-looking creature effects.
Because they have, like, articulated masks and costumes.
And puppets, too.
Oh.
Like, one of the main... Yeah, like... I mean, the pilot and one of the other main characters on the ship, they're both mainly portrayed by puppets.
There's something about puppets that's so charming. Like, even when they're obviously fake, I don't know what it is, but I almost prefer that to, like, a CG character in a lot of cases.
I think it's because there's something physically there. Like, with CG models, like, even though the motion is probably more fluid and quote-unquote more realistic, in the back of your head, there's nothing really there. Yeah. It was all just done by a computer algorithm.
Yeah, and the actor isn't really looking at what he's interacting with. Yeah. Yeah, there's something to be said for that. I mean, CG definitely has its place. We couldn't have a lot of the spectacle we enjoy without it, but there's also something just so much more warm and inviting about something that's actually in frame on set.
This is actually a good point. When I was watching, The Dark Crystal, I like the TV show, but there's something about the movie that feels so warm and inviting, despite, and it's just like, all of it being practical effects. Really, I mean, yeah, they still use puppets for like the TV show, but it's clear that the original just, I don't know, and just the old school fantasy vibe it gave off. That's something I kind of miss in media too, because everything tries to be Game of Thrones. Have you noticed that?
I didn't even see Age of Resistance, so I can't qualify.
Yeah,
So I can't comment on that.
yeah. They sort of tried to go for more, in terms of how they tell the story. It felt more Game of Thronesy, and it's just like, I mean, it was decent enough, but I miss like old school fantasy. Uh, like
Now when you say old school fantasy, because Dylan, I'll just tell you right off the bat, I started doing a deep dive into some of the old pulp authors, and holy shit, like there's a lot of stuff that we have not heard about. Like, how do I put this? A lot of it I found out with Appendix N. If you don't know what that is, Appendix N was an appendix inside, I think, one of the original D&D source books. It was basically a list of fantasy and science fiction books that Gygax put in to give GMs inspiration for running their campaign.
right.
There's there are names on that list I had never heard of.
Right.
Like there was Paul Anderson, not the Paul Anderson you're thinking of. Like there's Paul Anderson, Lee Brackett, aka the lady who wrote Empire Strikes Back.
Right.
Edgar Rice Burroughs, Lynn Carter, Lord Dunsany, Gardner Fox. Let's
real quick. Did you see Elizabeth's comment about Mythoverse Games of Thrones edition?
Yeah.
Hey, you're the one who teased you were going to kill her, so you did this to yourself, Brett.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know, I did.
And Neo says, I missed the Jim Henson era. Yeah, he died like in 1990 when I was, 15 years old. And I had not yet come to terms with it. I didn't come to terms with it for a while because I was a huge Jim Henson fan. I grew up watching, Sesame Street and Fraggle Rock in the 80s. And just having him suddenly gone was just, it was like something that had always been there, a constant that was now taken away. Mm-hmm. And the Muppets continued, and I almost wish that they hadn't, because without his guidance, it just really wasn't. They became like when Disney bought them, as is always the case. They became a commodity rather than art, and they just got put in everything, and just diluted the brand to the point where it just wasn't the same for me anymore. I would have loved to have been in the movie with the Muppets. Yeah, me too. Like the actual Muppets, like with all the original puppeteers and Jim Henson there, and that kind of energy. That kind of energy, just you can't. That's lightning in a bottle. Like what Jim Henson and Frank Oz had working together. That collaboration. That was a dream team. That's not likely to be replicated. They just gelled so well. And we got Nebel in the chat. Awesome.
And like kind of brings back to when I was at Farscape, just because, like I said, like because the Jim Henson Company did a lot of the special effects for that show, and it's like it kind of like even though Jim Henson's no longer with us, it's kind of you can still sort of feel the impact, because like I don't know, there was a kind of sort of touch that that brand has. Like you could even even in a show that's about as far from the Muppets as Farscape, you still kind of feel it. Just because there's, I don't know, I don't have the words for it, but it's like, it's one of those things where like you know it, you know a Jim Henson puppet when you see it. Like there's something very distinct about it.
Yeah, it goes all the way back to his Wilkins commercials, which reemerge on the internet every couple of years or
Yes.
so.
Would you like Wilkins coffee?
Well, would you like some Wilkins? He turns the cannon towards you. I saw that when I was a kid, and that was the first time I ever saw actual like adult Muppets. You know, because I only ever knew them from Sesame Street and Fraggle Rock, and Fraggle Rock was a bit more elaborate and sophisticated than Sesame Street, obviously. And Fraggle Rock was like his purest realization of his vision of world peace. And Sesame Street was obviously a children's show. But it started out for adults, you know, like animation did. And a lot of the stuff he actually wanted to do was a lot more mature. And those commercials are kind of a grim, dark reflection of that. Where, like I believe the mascot was called Won'tkins, the guy who didn't like the coffee. So Won'tkins would get himself murdered or at least put in a near-death experience every commercial. It was fantastic. Scott asked, did I ever watch the Storyteller series? Yes, with the puppet dog. Yes, I did.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I watched Elizabeth's review of Changeling and Mythics, and he said that reading Changeling made him kind of reminded him of Labyrinth, and it.
That's fair.
No, well, first off, I wasn't really pulling from. At least not consciously. I wasn't consciously pulling from Labyrinth, but to bring it back, like I saw Labyrinth when I think I was like I think it was in high school.
Mm-hmm.
I just rented it one weekend again because I wanted to see it, and it's like I was still kind of new to who David Bowie was at this time, so I just knew him as a guy I just knew him as a rock star, and I was kind of blown away by like how much he stole the show, and then I found out like, holy fuck, this guy had a background in theater, so it's like I almost feel bad for Jennifer Connelly. It's like even if I know this was like before her big breakout role in like decades before her big breakout role in what was that movie? Requiem for a Dream, I think. But it's like, even if she had been like a huge star at that time, it's like, are you gonna upstage David Bowie? No, that's just not gonna happen.
Well, David Bowie was a legend, and like you, that was the first time I had ever seen David Bowie. I didn't know anything about him. I only knew him as the Goblin King because I saw the film when it was released, and I had no idea he was a rock star that dressed up the way he did and did all these outlandish costumes, and I wasn't even familiar with his music aside from what he sang on the soundtrack for Labyrinth. But I definitely my parents pointed me to him, and I was very grateful for that. It was a similar thing for George Carlin. Like I had not been exposed to him at all in the 80s until I saw him in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, and I loved his role so much, and I thought he was so great that I fell down rabbit holes. Like it was harder to fall down rabbit holes then because we didn't have YouTube, but I basically just asked like, who is this guy, and they were able to tell me, and they had some albums, and I was able to hear some things, and his dirty words you can't say on TV was just hilarious. It was so scandalous at the time for me to listen to that stuff. It was fantastic. Neo says, I wish I had seen more Fraggle Rock. Yeah, that's something that you really need to like my daughter didn't care for it when I showed it to her. Maybe she'll like it more when she's older, but it's definitely a show that has some of those powerful messages about the non-aggression principle. If you're a libertarian, there's a whole song about it, where you say you can't force someone. You can't be the boss of someone else, basically. And they just flat out say like you can bring your friend to water, you can ask him pretty please, but you can't make him drink a single drop. It's like a very powerful message in a kid's show.
Right.
And Elizabeth says Labyrinth is chef's kiss. I agree. Fantastic movie. I still love listening to Dance Magic Dance and all that stuff.
Dance Magic Dance. Yeah.
It's a great song. And Neo asks, how is Dr. Han doing these days, Brett?
She's all right. Right now I think she's getting her house set up for her niece. That all makes sense.
Yeah,
It's like,
she's doing all right. I haven't drawn her yet.
Oof. Okay, Goblin King versus the Goblin Slayer. Oh.
Listen. Sometimes the smaller chested women need some love too. I just need to get there.
I don't know.
It'll happen.
Kind of sounds like that one line in Family Guy where Quagmire was saying, "What? Fat chicks need love too, but they gotta pay."
Oh, Scott says Fraggle Rock used to be on HBO. Yeah, and I couldn't get HBO for the longest time. When I was younger, only like my rich friends had cable. They were the only ones who could afford it. So I missed a lot of the early Nickelodeon stuff. I only saw it in passing when I was visiting my friends. But when I moved and we finally got cable, that was the show I watched all the time. I filled whole VHS cassette tapes with nothing but Fraggle Rock.
All right.
Yeah, I was a young kid, and that was my jam. All right.
And when I was a kid, my jam was Batman the Animated Series, just because my parents bought videotapes of it.
Yeah. If I had access to it at the time, I probably would have enjoyed that very much too.
Yeah. Oh my God. Of course. I'm a bit younger. I grew up watching Teen Titans. Me and the neighbor kids used to run around pretending we were Teen Titans. I was always Robin. The next door neighbor girl was always Starfire. And it's so, and it's so long ago now. And it's just now I have like every episode like on Blu-ray. Or at least I think it's on Blu-ray, but I have like the whole like collection, a box set. Yeah, I do wish I was able to grow. I do wish I had grown up with Batman the Animated Series like other people have, but I caught on later.
That's not a bad thing.
But the one thing I did grow up with was Batman Beyond. Because I love Batman Beyond. That's probably my favorite Batman series, like, ever.
I know a guy who says Batman Beyond is better than Batman the Animated Series.
I love that they progressed Gotham. That was fantastic.
Right.
I'll just say it's not an opinion I share with the guy, but it's not one I'll argue either.
Yeah, that's definitely one of those things that falls under subjectivity. Objectively, both shows are good, but it's up to really you to decide which one you really like more. I sort of have a bias for Batman Beyond myself. I also grew up watching Justice League, all that stuff, just everything on Cartoon Network at the time I loved.
I don't blame you. A lot of the early Cartoon Network stuff was really good. I mean, there's a reason we say, when Cartoon Network was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just look at it now, and it just like Guts theme intensifies. Just.
Yeah.
Well, I think the issue is what made early Cartoon Network great was the creators who worked on it. So You had Craig McCracken, Gendy Tartakovsky, and several others who were all friends and all worked on
Maxwell
the
Adams.
biggest shows on Cartoon Network from like 1998 to 2005 ish. I want to say.
Billy Mandy is my favorite of all time. Just
And then once all those guys kind of pulled out of Cartoon Network for one reason or another, that's when it kind of went.
and then it lost me when they started doing live action like about 10 years ago. That was 10 years ago. Holy crap. Now it's just like it's just cringe. It's cringe woke stuff, and it's just like, what are you doing?
We were able to get a few good shows in that era out. Like Chowder was good.
Oh, I love
Flapjack was good.
Flapjack was good.
Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends was probably the last great show I saw on Cartoon Network.
Oh, that one was a cool idea,
right?
Yeah, it was actually, and it was like the idea came from like I think him and his wife. They were going to an animal shelter. They were thinking about getting a dog, and they kind of wondered, what are the animals' lives like when the humans aren't around?
Yeah. But you know what? Cartoon Network has done one thing right recently, and it was, well, I guess it's technically Cartoon Network, but specifically Adult Swim, and it was bring Gendy back for more stuff. Because I will defend to death Gendy's work on Primal and Season 5 of Samurai Jack.
Yeah.
I gotta give it to the guy. You just look at everything he's done. Not a single dud.
Well, it's because he doesn't make stuff for what corporate wants. He makes stuff he would want to watch. And when you make stuff that you would enjoy...
I do wish Season 5 was a little longer, though.
I mean...
I think it would have benefited, but overall it was good. It's still
I wasn't even that into Hotel Transylvania, and even I thought that was good.
I haven't watched those yet, and I was like, it just looks cringy. And then I learned that Tartakovsky works on it, and it's like, I don't have any means to watch it, but I would like to just to see what elements of his direction get maintained in the 3D medium.
I've sat down and I watched like the first two ones, and just because they used storyboards, right? I mean, obviously, but yeah, just the way they implemented it like a lot of that stuff had to be, a lot of the scenes themselves had to be drawn, and like it was done in a way where it really combined, where it was all CG, but for the scenes, every frame was drawn, and then went over, with CG models and stuff. I saw like how they made this, and it was like the coolest thing, honestly. That it retains that 2D movement, and honestly, that's like the most impressive part about the movie, is that it feels like it's all 3D, but
it's old school techniques with new school tech.
Yeah, it's honestly the most impressive like blend of 2D and 3D I've ever seen, without any 2D used, any 2D on screen. It's like, it's amazing. Well, animation wise, at least. Say what you will about the story and stuff. Just on the technical level, it's amazing.
Yeah, but even if you weren't really into Hotel Transylvania, like those movies actually made money.
Oh yeah, I mean, why do you think they made 3 of them?
Yeah, like I said, that's why I said like Tartakovsky's work does not have a single dud in it.
Right.
I'm gonna swap over to the webcam and maybe do some sketching for a little bit. But first, I just wanted to show off some stuff here. So here is Knight Errant. Okay, see, it exists. It's real. Okay, it's got a lot of words in it. It's got my face on the back for some ungodly reason. Okay.
Got a lot of words. It has the best words.
It's just the best words. It's huge. It's a huge book. Huge. Okay.
It's absolutely tremendously large.
It's tremendous. It's tremendous. It's great. All right. So this is dropping out here. So this is once again, this is one of the books you can get on the campaign, and I'm just gonna show off one quick page here to give you an idea of the direction Dylan took it in. So you can see he went into a drastically abstract direction, and I absolutely loved it. You can just tell she's becoming almost subhuman in some of these panels.
Yeah, I have dropping out right here on my nightstand at all times. It's like it never leaves the nightstand except for when I'm holding it right now. But
you really ought to put that thing in a frame, Dylan.
Yeah, I have it.
Lizabar, you don't got to give away all my secrets. Come on. Yeah, this is just it's actually a cookbook. And I ripped off the cover and I glued the Dobie Kroger cover on it. That's why I flipped through it really fast so you can't really see any of the recipes.
Are you talking about the writing that's on the cover? All that writing?
All this writing here?
Well, I'm not looking. I'm talking about on the cover.
Oh, on the cover of Dropping Out, you mean?
Oh, you guys weren't talking about. I thought you were.
No, I was. I was holding up the novel because Lizabar revealed my secret, and I just had to fess up to it because I'm an honest man. I don't lie ever, except that once about the book being real. So
I looked up vintage Bible, old vintage pages of Bible pages, and I threw them in there, to sort of I mean, I kind of wanted visual noise, but kind of serves a purpose because she becomes a paladin.
Yep, and it works. And I love that her face and her head looks like she just fell out of a building and landed onto some concrete, and her skull burst open. That's fantastic. Yeah, so there's that. Let me show you really quick. Here is Bitch in print. Art by Rosalind. Written by Dylan. Brett said that my placement of the Mythoverse logo here makes it look like it's part of her Catholic school uniform, and that's precisely why I put it there, so it worked. Yep, it's got our Mythoverse tree here, designed by Lenore on the back. Neo says, Bizarro Adobe, Bizarre B. Kroger, or would that be Pseudo B. Kroger?
Oh, that reminds me. That reminds me of a gag I had in mind if we ever bring back Mytho Chibis. It's literally just the onion scene from Shrek, but Maeve is talking to Adobe about how she's not just some big dumb ox. She picks up an onion and she says, "I'm like an onion. Kroger's have layers."
Kroger's have layers.
For a sec, because you followed it up from the Bizarro, because you followed it up from the Bizarro comment. I thought it was going to be a take on that, on the Bizarro episode of C Lab.
Oh, but it reminded me of something I want to bring up. It was just that joke. Me and Gorgon and I just keep joking about it, like how much we want to see it. Kroger's have layers.
All right.
No. Instead of Maeve saying what they stink, it's Althea off in the background saying because they stink. She goes, yes, no. Layers.
Now maybe not stink. What they make you cry?
That would also work.
Yeah. I like the idea. We will have to use it. Yeah.
Kickstarter's at 782 with 18 backers.
Nice.
We're almost halfway there in 2 hours.
Nice. Almost halfway there. We're doing great. All right. So here's Adobe Kroger Demon Commander issue 1. That's available on the campaign. And here is issue 2. So this one's got 40 pages. So it's a bit thicker. It's got a little bit more action, a little bit more character development in it.
More content.
More content in general. Interestingly enough, I can tease out this much. The reason that I put the verse from Ephesians, which will feature very heavily, of course, in these books, at the beginning of the book instead of at the back was because when I sent the script to Leandro, and he got to a part where Adobe gets into a massive action scene, he turned in this gorgeous 2-page spread that just blew my mind. And I said, this is absolutely amazing, but it's starting on the wrong page. And he's like, oh, shoot. It's like, I don't want to give up the 2-page spread, so just continue on as you're going, and I will just put this thing in front to make up for it. So,
yeah, that reminds me. There's a page in Dropping Out that was meant to be one panel, but I read it wrong, and it ended up being a whole page. And spoiler. But ultimately, I think it worked out for the better.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about, and I agree. I mean, Dropping Out worked out great. And so, a lot of what made it work, I think, was those, as Bob Ross would say, happy accidents that we just ended up working around.
Yeah, and the specific page in question is also a page turner, which makes it all the more impactful.
Exactly. You're like, bam, there's the page.
Yeah, it's like the only like splash page, in the story, and it's just like, I'm so happy it's a page turner.
Yes.
Dan, I'm gonna DM you something you're gonna want to show on stream because it's just so perfect.
Awesome, I'll do that. We're at 790 out of 19 with 19 backers. All right. Let's see. All right, let me see what Brett's got here. Nice. Okay, I'm gonna have to show this. Yeah. Okay, so this is a tweet put out by our good friend Tank, who incidentally, if you look at let me just go over here real quick. If you look at the golems that Adobe is battling, they're based on characters he created. Lucia and
Gunner, I think.
Gunner, yes. It was at the tip of my tongue, but it's just been a long day. But anyway, yeah, so when we launched our first campaign, Tank really helped push us, and he made a lot of cool memes and really put a lot of effort into helping us get that funded. So as a way of saying thanks, I said, Adobe was supposed to battle 2 golems in issue 2. As a way of saying thanks, can I just design them after your characters? And he said, absolutely. So there we go. But I show you that because I'm about to show you another meme that he put out here. This is fantastic. Yeah, he just took that Simpsons meme of the bearded guy reading a book with an astonishing...
That's Alan Moore.
Dude, relax. It's Alan Moore reading a book, and he replaced the cover with Adobe Kroger. All right, so Alan Moore doesn't.
Oh,
it could be anybody though. They didn't really make it look like him.
Oh, it's Alan Moore. There was an episode he was a guest star in, along with Dan Klaus and Art Spiegelman.
Nice, I love it.
It was an episode where Bart tried making his own comic book.
Oh man, I stopped watching The Simpsons after season 8, I think. So I don't know if that was in there.
Yeah. Season 8 is definitely the dropping point where I don't know how my sister did it, but like last year, she and her husband watched every single episode of The Simpsons. And just like, how?
I would say if you have to go past season 8, drop after the movie. That's what's ruined it in my head.
Yeah, and yeah. Oh, you were muted at the beginning of the thing, Dan. Did you show off the pixel artwork?
The pixel
Oh,
artwork.
it's
Yeah, it's on the screen. It's been on the screen the whole time.
yeah, it's on the feed, man. You can sit.
Okay, I'll go look. But
Yeah. Let me go ahead and make this a little bit bigger so everyone can see it.
yeah, because you made a version where it was on like the Streets of Rage background. I think.
Yep.
I ended up making one where it was on its like where, and I made the background myself where it's the place from the cover or from the comic.
Yep. I'm gonna grab that one real quick and I'll show it off in a moment.
Right.
Yeah, this is pretty neat. Like Dylan just messages me today with this sprite Adobe and a modified like filtered image of a panel from issue 2.
Because I was like playing with like filters and stuff, and then I was doing that. I'm like, the drawing app I use allows me to make like pixel characters and stuff. I'm like, well, why don't I just try that? And I tried it with Adobe. The thing was launching today. I'm like, well, I'll take a couple minutes and I'll make the sprite. And I'm honestly really happy with how it came out. And when Dan added, put it on the background, I'm like, well, I should probably draw background for her too. And it just.
Yep. So it's on the screen right now, and this background that Dylan drew. Let me go ahead and swap over here to the webcam. Is based on the actual setting of issue 2, the grand ballroom where she battles all of her foes. So and Dylan even gave her a faith meter, which is pretty neat. So I assume that's measure of the amount of power she has to do her special attacks. And there's another thing too. I think let me grab it.
Is there an authentic edit with her in the R2D2 undies?
There is an authentic edit with her in the R2D2 undies. Troy has drawn it and Leandro has drawn it.
Are you talking about the pixel thing?
Yeah, I'm saying like for the pixel art.
Sadly, I don't think we legally can sell it though.
Now,
well, it doesn't have to be R2D2. It can just be blue undies.
Yeah. Yeah, like she's wearing in the Dakimakura.
Right. When I get the chance, I've got other stuff on my plate, but when I get the chance, I'll try my hand at other pixel art, maybe full-blown pixel art. I'll see if I can do risque stuff, whatever.
So Sauron stuck his swordsman in there, and I went ahead and put that up on the screen so everyone can see it.
Did you see the one where I pixelated it and added like effects and stuff?
Yep, I that's the one I'm showing off right now.
Nice.
So Sauron says, Adobe needs a good boss battle, so he puts an image of Marcus, one of his swordsmen, on the scene. And I said, at this stage in her life, when Adobe's 21 years old, she wouldn't last 2 seconds against Marcus. But it's like, and then I believe Dylan said, it's like that boss you meet early in the game that kicks your ass, and then you get stronger and win at the end of the game.
No, just save scum, and then you'll eventually memorize exactly how to beat it, and then you beat it first try, easy peasy.
Not if you're playing Dark Souls.
Yes, it just takes longer.
Yes,
because you have to fully restart.
Yes, get good.
Yeah, just get good. I just realized how late it is. I'm gonna have to head off because I have work early in the morning, but just plug in for tomorrow night. I will be on stream with Lenore at 9 p.m. Eastern or 8 p.m.
She said it was 7 p.m. Central.
So that's going to be 8 p.m. Eastern. Yeah, we're going to be talking Hollowed Harvest and how that went, because I realized a couple weeks ago, I was like, I haven't really talked about Hollowed Harvest since the whole promotion thing. So that'll be a fun time kind of going over what went well, plans for the future, what we can do better next time.
Sounds
It'll be
good.
good times.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We'll see you there. And Lenore always puts on a fun show, so you definitely want to catch that. She's a great host, and she's a great conversationalist, and she was really big on Hallowed Harvest when we showed it to her, so it should be a fun show.
Yeah. All right. Have a good night, everyone.
All right, take care,
Yeah.
James. Thank you. All right, so yeah, we're at 790 with 19 backers. Off to a wonderful start in this first evening. Couldn't be happier. See, Neostar says, I still have that crossover fighter idea waiting in the wings. Salem says, should do one more movie to complete The Simpsons. Everyone agrees it's overstayed its welcome. So go with everything left that you got. I honestly don't know what they have left because they started as, a counterculture answer to the pablum 80s family sitcoms, and now they're just full-blown woke.
Yeah, they got rid of half their cast, which is Hank Azaria.
Yeah.
I mean, he's still there, but it's like if you get rid of all the stereotypes in The Simpsons, there'd be no characters.
It's kind of the truth. They're caricatures of.
Never mind. Have you heard what's her name? The lady who does Marge's voice just sounds.
Yeah, like oh my god, it's like just give this woman a break, please.
Please, she's already dead. To use
what I live in fear of is that someone is gonna figure out deep fake tech for voices, and they'll be able to program lines in and keep it on air indefinitely.
Yeah, there's so many episodes of The Simpsons they can literally probably just do that, and that's freaky, honestly. Because I've gone on websites where it's like, you can simulate voices.
I've watched one video where someone used an AI to take some dialogue that Grandpa Simpson did, where he was telling a story that doesn't go anywhere, and they put Joe Biden's voice over it, and it's funny, but it's also hauntingly accurate to how he would say it.
Oh my God! Someone linked that to me. I want to watch it.
Okay, let me see if I can find it. I'll get it. I'll find it for you. Okay, I'll find it for you.
Yeah, I'll watch it when I can. Oh my God!
But yeah, but seriously, if someone figures out how to perfect that tech, like I've already seen deep fakes for just faces that look very convincing. Like, it's scary how convincing it is.
There was one where it's like Uncharted 4, and they deep faked Nathan Fillion's face on Nathan Drake, and it's just like, oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
For starters, why didn't they get him for Nathan Drake in the first place?
They wanted to go for something like Johnny Knoxville.
Well, no, I'm talking about for the movie.
Oh.
Just like
because I think his age. I think it was his age.
I mean, Nathan Drake wasn't a spring chicken in the fourth game.
I'm talking about but Nathan Fillion's definitely kind of old. He's the
fan film. Have you seen the Uncharted fan film? He was perfect in that.
I guess, but I don't know. I mean, let me put it this way: I would sooner cast Chris Pratt over Tom Holland.
Oh yeah, Chris Pratt. Yeah, I would be a lot happier with that. For Nathan Drake, I would be a lot happier with that. I don't know why there's this obsession with putting Tom Holland in everything. It's like, yes, we get it. He's Spider-Man.
Has he done anything else? I mean, I'm pretty sure he has. I just can't name it off the top of my head.
Yeah, just like, I'm so sick of seeing Tom Holland.
All right. Let me just, I don't have too much longer I can stay on because, James, I do have work tomorrow, but...
Yeah, I do too.
I don't want to keep you too much longer, guys. We're off to a great start, and I really am glad you all were here, but I'll probably just do a quick sketch here. Why not?
Yeah. Let's get a little sketch out and call it. Let's get a little sketch out and call it good.
Yeah, I haven't had much chance to sit and sketch lately, but I've been trying to make the time because I do enjoy it very much, but it just I've gotten to that point in my life where there's only so many hours in the day, and I honestly feel like my time is better spent acting as a force multiplier for other creative people, like everyone we work with, and Leandro and Luigi and Roslyn and Dylan and Salem and everyone else. And if I can offer them any kind of support or you know to help them execute on their ideas, then I want to. I think that's where my time is best spent. Because I'm not really the Frodo of my story anymore, but I can still be the Gandalf.
I'm happy just being the same wise.
Yeah. Like, I'm perfectly happy, like, helping other people achieve their potential if I can. If there's any way I can offer my experience, my my resources, or my time to do that. So,
Yep.
I'm just gonna do a quick
That's
Molly Beans here.
This is so far. This has got to be our best performing campaign.
Well, we've had the benefit of having successful campaigns in the past, and we've spent a lot of time building up our brand and our brand awareness and our audience. And we developed a lot of positive relationships with other positive, productive people in the indie comics community. That's why we spend a lot of our time working and collaborating with them, especially with Brian. I knew, like, when I first laid eyes on Rags, that was a cut above the rest, first of all, and second of all, I liked their approach and building their audience and engaging with their audience. It was, not to put too fine a point on it, it was pretty punk rock. Kind of like the guys from Homestar Runner. They did their thing. They didn't sell out. They didn't say, like, yeah, we'll sell our IP so we can get a show on Cartoon Network. They just did what they wanted to do, and they got by engaging their audience and selling merchandise. And I admire that. I admire people that respect their own creation enough to just say, no, this is my thing. This is how I'm going to do it. And that's a lot of the values that this character I'm drawing right now, Molly Beans, exemplified. So,
with that being said, I'm gonna let me draw Maeve in the modern Cartoon Network style.
Oh yeah. Let's see let's see what would happen if we were sold out. Let it be a cautionary tale.
The bean mouth and everything.
Yeah. Go full Cal Arts. Go full Steven Universe. And this way, if Brett is ever tempted to sell his IP or to, like, license it to certain people, he'll look at that and he'll say, "No."
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, Xenolith made horrific fan art of Maeve on purpose.
He was just trying to piss you off, though.
Nah, it was because he was not. It was because I said if I ever see ugly fan art of Maeve, I'll eat my hat, and he took that as a challenge.
Oh, is that what that one drawing was?
Nurgle Maeve, yeah. It was just...
Okay. Yeah, because I was wondering if that was done on purpose. No offense. I was just saying. Because I didn't want to say anything.
That wasn't... Look, that wasn't intentionally ugly, Dylan. It was...
Okay.
It was supposed to be hideous.
Right, okay. I think...
Elizar says, "Man, that pencil looks huge, like an Xbox." Yeah, it is pretty big. It's a larger pencil. And he says it. I see what sure looks like a molly beans forming on the page. Yep, that's my girl. I swear, when I get some time, I'm gonna put out a proper graphic novel for that character. I have plenty of ideas. It's just a matter of being able to sit and draw it. Anyway, well, guys, we're off to a wonderful start. I'm going to keep plugging away at this, and I can't thank everyone enough that has backed and has gotten the campaign off to a good start. And thanks everyone for sharing it and telling everyone about it. And I don't think we'll have a problem reaching goal by the end of the month, and we'll move on to the next. What else is there to say?
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. Go ahead. What?
Oh, well, we're at 790.
Yep, 790. I'm pleased. That's 19 backers, 790, and it's only been live for just under 2.5 hours. So good. I'll put out some more notifications. I'll run the mailing list on the old campaign and stuff, and we'll see where it is in a week's time. All right, guys. Thank you so much, guys. It's been my honor and pleasure to have you with me here tonight and getting this comic campaign off to a good start. Let's keep it going. In the meantime, stay safe, stay sane.
Night.
Night.